my fellow speakers. This is Brian, the speaker for the dead, coming to you tonight with my review of season 4 of The Expanse. This is Expanding the Expanse, and tonight we're going to be talking about episode 9. So this is one that I have been really excited to talk about. It's one that it's probably my favorite episode in this season. So I hope that there's going to be more people jumping in tonight to watch and to give questions on this or to comment. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do like what I've been doing, and we're just going to talk about. Let's get right into this. I don't know how many of you have pre-watched this in anticipation of doing this tonight. But I went back and watched it again today, made my notes so that I could talk about it with you in a more comprehensive way. And every time I watch this one, it just gets better and better. And I mean, really and truly, it's because Miller's back. I mean, who wasn't waiting for that? He's been gone for, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes now. He just disappeared and hasn't really been in the fray at all. And so I was excited to see him back in action with our crew, mainly Holden, which is the only one that can see him. But anyway, like I said, this is probably one of my favorite episodes because here in the beginning, we see Miller talking to the proto-molecule and to Holden. He's going through memories of different things that have happened back and forth. He is kind of what we've seen before, where they're talking about these are memories from things that he's seen with Holden, and these are also some things that have that we've seen before in the beginning episodes, where he's communicating with the proto-molecule or kind of talking almost to himself. And there's a lot of back and forth in this in these scenes here, where it sounds like he's arguing with himself and arguing with other people. And we get these really cool graphics that they're doing that we've seen before in the episodes, where it shows the planet and the fields that are connecting around the planet through the moons and stuff like that. And Miller's, you hear him, the longer it goes on, you hear him fighting with the proto-molecules that are trying to control him and tell him to do things. And you keep seeing bits and pieces of memories of him and Holden talking as this is going on. And so it's just a fantastic part of this episode. It goes back and forth and ultimately culminates in the last memory that he has, where Miller asks him where he's been, and he says, "Forget this, boss, I quit." And then he screams no, which we saw at the last episode. He screams no, and you see Holden covering his ears because this is so loud and it's like damaging. We see right here that Miller's trying to recover from the scream, and he's struggling. It's caused him pain. And then we see him, and then we see Miller in the background now without a hat, which we've always seen him so far in this season with his hat. And he's asking Holden, "Hey, can you hear me? Am I coming through?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can hear you." And he goes on to just like, "What the heck was that?" He doesn't say heck, obviously. So that's when Miller comes to him and explains that the guy he's been talking to this whole time has been the investigator, which is basically what the proto-molecule's been making out of his corpse to force him to find what they need him to find to be able to come back and to live again, or to undo the results of the war, essentially. And it's just it's a really interesting thing, and this dialogue that goes back and forth right here between Holden and Miller, where he's explaining that he's found something that they didn't want him to find, um, that he has found something that causes whatever gets close to it that's involved with the proto molecule to die. And he explains that it's some kind of unexploded bomb from the previous war that causes everything proto molecule to die. So anyway, um, we find out that Miller was able to come back by um, basically show or watching the way Holden cared about him, and that he was excited about the way Holden cared, and it made it possible for him to survive and to live. Um, so Holden, um, then we cut from here to Dr. Okoye and Dr. Scaricus on the ship talking back and forth. And it's a funny conversation because the Dr. Scaricus says, golly, I wish I was down there with you. And Dr. Okoye is like, yeah, have I mentioned the parasite or the slugs covered in neurotoxin and eye parasites? And then Dr. Skirkus is like, well, yeah, but we can't start our reactor, and eventually we're gonna, burn up in a giant fireball. So don't act like this is all just about you. It's kind of a funny moment, but then she overhears Miller talk or Holden talking to Miller, and so she ends up following them, and um, where Miller takes um, takes Holden to try and find where this bomb is and where the ordnance hasn't exploded. And here we're seeing Dr. Koye looking into the tunnel where they've gone to try and find this unexploded bomb. So it was, like I said, I love Dr. Koye. She's one of my favorite characters in this season. So there was a war on this planet between the builders of the protomolecule and something worse, which, I mean, I know it shouldn't excite me, but it does for what's coming in the future. Because, like I said, I haven't read the books, so I'm excited to see where this is going to go. I mean, we're going to get, we're going to get to see, hopefully, what the worst thing was. And Miller or Holden says that he's already kind of seen it and felt it every time they've gone through the gates. So there's something between the gate space and where they come into regular space where whatever this thing is that's worse lives. Anyway, so from there, no, so sorry, I'm reading my notes to make sure I don't leave anything out. So Miller wants Holden to help him kill this thing. And so he's taking him, like I said, he's taking him down the tunnel here to where they need to go. Now, then we end up coming back up to see the Rosinante is trying to pull the barb into higher orbit. To get them out of danger and stuff, or at least keep them alive until they can figure out what to do about the reactors and stuff. They're running on battery power. The barb is very limited on what it can do. It can't do anything mainly without its reactor. So they're pulling some slack and tension out of the line right now, as they're trying to pull things higher. Then we go to find that Murtry is down on the surface of the planet, and he's talking with the Edward Israel, coming to find out that they are, he's finding out that the Resonante is towing the barb up and helping them to survive longer, which you can tell he doesn't like, and he starts to initiate the plan that they started in one of the previous episodes, where they're going to use a shuttle to try and take out the Rosinante, to stop them from helping the Barber Piccolo. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Then we see Amos and they are they get into a discussion here where um, we asked him to go and live in their camp, and Amos is just like, well, did you ask your boss? And she's like, what is it with you two always fighting and stuff. It was really funny. But the kind of go back, but there's a kind of a sweet moment here where Amos is like, hey, I'd never lie to you, and you can see it really kind of has a an effect on Wei. And then she leaves. I don't know, their conversations are kind of bizarre, really. Between these two, they're always, you know, doing funny things, and there's it's not normal conversations that they have. It's always a little odd, but that's okay. So anyway, um, we cut back to Miller and Holden, and they are walking through the center of the planet, or deeper into the planet. But anyway, they Holden's so tired because he's been awake for 3 days, and it's just kind of funny. Their interactions here, it's what I miss about not having Miller in the show more, where they're talking back and forth, and Holden's telling him how tired he is, and Miller's just like, "Yeah, I get what you mean. Every time the protomolecule puts me together and then rips me apart again," he says, "there's a little less of me to work with," and you see him kind of tugging at his belt line, kind of like literally there's less of him. Um, and it kind of makes Holden laugh and stuff. Anyway, they um, Miller takes him to this hole in the floor where he turns on this field, and then tells Holden, "All right, just get in the hole." And he's like, "Well, what's going to happen?" We see Miller here trying to figure out what's about to happen, and he's touching this field to try and figure out what it is and whether this is safe for him to do. Anyway, and then just at this point, Okoye catches up with Holden, and Miller disappears. And so they start talking, and Okoye's like, "I want to come with you. I want to help you." She's like, "No." He's like, "No, you can't come with me." And it's like, "Hey, my ship's gonna burn up too." And Miller's just, or Holden's like, "I can't see Miller if anybody else is with me, so you can't be here." Um, so anyway, Holden jumps into the hole and falls basically, and there's a field that catches him and basically helps him fall, um, in a controlled fall, and which I thought was really interesting. So he's fallen for a long time, but you can see it's kind of around his extremities and stuff, keeping him from going like a crazy speed. But you can see the walls and everything whizzing by him as this is going on here. So, but anyway, that then we go back to the Edward Israel, where we find that they're preparing to launch this shuttle, and Dr. Skirkis, hey Kamikaze, welcome. So sorry, we got somebody in the chat here, but I don't know if you've missed the rest of this. You may have to go back and catch up on where I'm at. I don't know how long you can stay, but Dr. Skirkis is here, and he's asking the RCE people, like, why are we launching a shuttle? Did you miss what happened to the last one? The last one, they launched it as it was going into the atmosphere of the planet. It just disintegrated into all these little red sparkles. So not a good thing. So anyway, and the guy that they're talking to, or he walks up and starts talking to this guy, and this guy gets really aggressive with him. He's like, "Hey, it doesn't matter why we're doing this. You don't need to know. Go sit the F down and do whatever it is you do," and goes to pull his gun. Well, Dr. Skirkis is just like, "Okay, not going to deal with that crazy guy." So he goes to sit down at his terminal and starts looking to see like what is actually going on here. And he waits for the guy to kind of walk away and go upstairs, and then he starts trying to figure out what's happening. Um, and we see eventually he actually contacts the Rosinante, or Alex, um, aboard the Rosinante, and tells him that, "Hey, um, did you ask somebody to send you a shuttle, because the shuttle's coming right for you?" And Alex is like, no, we did not ask for that. So yeah, then that's when they start to realize that there's probably problems going on here. That's where we see and see this is where we see them actually launch the shuttle. So then we cut back to probably one of my favorite parts of this episode. It cuts back to because when Dr. Okoye comes back from where Holden was, uh, Murtry bullies her into telling him where Holden's gone. So it's kind of a crazy, weird scene that this is going on. And then, so she goes back, and then Amos comes back looking for can't find sees this guard kind of bullying Dr. Okoye. Then takes the communicator device and throws it down and stuff, and Amos walks over to talk to him talk to her, and the guy walks up and says, like, hey, nobody's allowed to talk to her. And Amos just rips the gun right out of his hand and just throws it across, and that's what you're looking at, right? He's throwing the guy's gun away, and the guy's like, hey, oh. So he goes to walk around and go pick it up, and Amos is like, yeah, I wouldn't. The guy's just like standing there like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. It's so great. Anyway, and he's talking to Koye. Koye tells him what's going on. And he's like, hey, I think Holden's in trouble. And he's like, all right. And he turns to start communicating and looks over his shoulder. And this guy that you see right here is still standing there. Hey, this is where it tells him not to do it. And anyway, sorry, every time I see this part, it makes me laugh. He just asks him, hey, is there anything else we have to do here? And the guy was like, okay, it's not worth it. And he walks away. Amos is so awesome. I just love Amos in this season or in this series. Anyway, so they're trying to get a hold of Holden. They can't because there's issues going on. Or, he's in the planet, so he's out of range. And then he tries to get a hold of he can't get a hold of either, but then leaves a mess or Way, pardon me, I keep saying it's Way, gets a hold of Way and says, I'm coming for your boss. Don't be there when I do. It's just really short to the point. And then we cut back to Holden, who's just free falling and sound asleep because he's been awake for 3 days. And Miller wakes him up here, and he freaks out because he sees the end of the tunnel coming up really fast. Like I said, you can see that right here. And he's trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do? And then he comes, and it slows him down, and it brings him out of the end of the tunnel. And him and Miller start to go find this bomb that they're looking for. When he flickers and goes back to the guy with the hat on, that guy turns and starts to walk the other, which is the investigator, turns around and walks the other direction. And then Miller takes back over and stops him from doing it. Get out of my head, asshole. He's like screaming stuff. I just love Miller. Miller's the best. He is my favorite. And I miss him a lot in these. But anyway, so they're going to find this thing. We see Dr. Okoye show Amos where they went, and he jumps in the hole going after Holden and the two little turds that are trying to kill him. So, Xenocide's in here. Welcome. Sorry, I'm just reading. It was a little dissertation that we didn't get to find. Dissertation, I think it means disappointed that we didn't get to find out more about the black mist and the portals. yeah, but I'm sure that's coming next season, I would hope. So anyway, but yeah, it's so we cut back, and here's Amos and Dr. Okoye, and they're gonna go after them. And Okoye's like, hey, I'm coming, and don't try and talk me out of it. He was just like, I ain't gonna have my permission. Anyway, they jump off and they go to find them. And then we're back at the Rosinante, and this is where Dr. Skirkus gets a hold of Alex and tells him, "Look out! There's a shuttle coming your way." Just fantastic that he's, that you can tell that the science people are not on the same page as the security people, and it's really cool that that's that it's that way, that they're, one's there for a good reason, one's there and they've all been kind of corrupted by Mertry and what his plans are for what he wants to do. Anyway, so they see the shuttle coming in. They realize they're under attack, and Alex just tells them, "Hey, you either get away from us or I'm going to wipe you out." And they just keep coming. At that point, the shuttle flips and fires its engines right at the Rocinante, and they you see the cannon pop up here, the PDC. Gosh dang, I love those things. Freaking awesome. And it totally wipes out the shuttle. But because it was moving at them, the debris rains down on top of them. Uh, doesn't hit anybody, but some of it shoots through the opening, hits a canister, and it starts flying around and hits Lucia and knocks her, or Lucia, knocks her out into space. Which is, you could tell, probably not going to be good for her health. And so we see Naomi tether herself and jump out into space um, to go grab Lucia. And the only part about this that I thought was odd or different or didn't was like, she gets way, way, way the heck out there. And I'm just thinking, how long is the cord that you attached yourself to the Rosinante with? It's like, because I mean, and I don't know if it'll show it in this scene, but you can see right there how far away she is from the ship. And I'm just like, is that like the cord that never ends? This is the cord that never ends. That's what I kept thinking. I'm like, that is one hell of a cord. So anyway, so she ends up catching her and pulls her back down to the ship. Which it really is a cool scene, and especially spinning like that. I was just like, man, I'm gonna get sick in behalf of this woman who's spinning around. Oh, we got somebody else in the chat here. Welcome, evening. And so yeah, she ends up saving her, which is just amazing. It's a really cool bit of space stuff, but yeah, it almost makes you sick watching what Lucia's going through here. Anyway, so we cut back down to the planet, and Way and Mertry have just exited out of the purple goo tunnel. I don't know what I should call it. It's the force field tunnel. But yeah, high tension spider wire, and apparently a very large spool of high tension spider wire. But yeah, so anyway, so here we see we and Mertry show up down here. They clear this area, make sure that nobody's there. Then they talk back and forth. They're like, "Hey, I would." Then she gets the message from Amos. This is, and you hear Amos give his little message like, "Hey, I'm coming for your boss. Don't be there when I do." And Mertry's just like, "Yeah, your boyfriend has an economical way with words." And as much of a scumbag of a character as he is, I love the way he delivers some of these lines, because he really does play a great bad guy. Bern Gorman he is awesome when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, yeah, I agree. That yeah, you gotta let him have a little bit of liberties. It's just every once in a while I'll catch myself going, I don't know about that. So, but yeah, I do give him a lot of liberties, because this is just the best freaking science fiction show out there right now. So, but yeah, it's anyway, we see these two talking back and forth. This is where they find out that Amos is coming, and they decide, well, if somebody's got to take him out, it's going to be Way that does it. Which I'm just like, yeah, because you're his girlfriend. Why wouldn't you be the one to shoot him? Okay. Anyway, so but she wants to give it a chance, to try and save Amos. from this. What's coming? Then we cut back to Miller and Holden, and um, they are talking back and forth just about what they're going to do and what they're looking for. And then you see this part where they've got to cross this. Hopefully, it'll show it here. Okay, so yeah, you can just see how, I mean, this is the interior of the planet. The visuals in this, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen Forbidden Planet. It's one of my favorite old science fiction shows. That's what this scene reminds me of, because at one point you go inside the planet on Forbidden Planet, and the whole planet is just full of machines, and it's running as far as the eye can see. The visuals in this particular scene are freaking unbelievably good and very well done. Um, so yeah, we see, and then we see that Holden's got to walk across this fairly thin bridge, which, yeah, that doesn't look like fun. Um, anyway, so we see that he's talking to Holden here, and they're talking back and forth, and he's like, "Hey, if I slip off this, how far will I fall?" And he's he's like, for the rest of your life. Like, that's a big hole. That's a really big hole. So anyway, but yeah, it gives you that real sense of just how dangerous this place is. And here we actually get to see what he's got to try and walk on. Um, so it's yeah, that would give me a little bit of vertigo, I know for sure. So anyway, so there we see that. Now we're back up on the Rosinante, where we find that they have taken some fairly serious damage from what has hit their ship. um and Naomi and Lucia come back on board, and Naomi is hacked off, and so is Alex. Quite honestly, he's telling the Edward Israel that, if I see one more damn thing come out of your ship, and I will blow you out of the sky. That was funny, which is a total bluff, because he can't, because they don't have enough power. But just, I mean, look at these visuals. They are so well done. I mean, it's just, this is what you have when you have Amazon money. Oh yes. So anyway, so they're trying to figure out what to do, because now they've lost half the thrusters on their ship. They've got a spin that they can't quite arrest because of what has happened. It is just unbelievably good, well done, and high tension, and it's believable. I don't know if you saw the video I did on the last episode, but I was expecting them to come up with something where they were just like, "Oh, the cable's gonna snap," but they didn't. They kept it real, and they weren't like making everything that could go wrong, and I was grateful for that. Yes, I agree. I don't know how you say your name, Peter Ren. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I'm terrible with pronunciations and names and stuff, but yeah, the science and I mean, the writing and everything that goes into this show, you can tell how in depth they go. I mean, it's all based on realistic principles, and that's one of the things I love about the show is it feels real. It feels like what would happen if we went out into space right now. The same kind of rules would apply, and I do love that. Um, but yeah, it really is great. And they're doing a lot of good stuff, and I agree, Pinar, that they're doing a lot of cool stuff with the money, and they're putting it in the right place. The writing has always been good, but the visuals have gotten even better. I mean, they were great when it was sci-fi. Now they're even better. But anyway, so back to what we're talking about here. They're trying to arrest this spin, and that's when Alex comes up with the idea to try, rather than, because Lucy is wanting this, she's just like, cut the ship loose. Nobody else is going to die for this. I'm not. Patter. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that. I'm terrible with pronunciations, so you should try and watch people pronounce my wife's name. It's hilarious. Her name's Daedry. And a tarot marketer will call our house, and it's just like, "Hello, is Daedry there?" Not even close, dude. Click. That's how we know if somebody actually knows my wife. So sorry. Anyway, side note there. But anyway, so Lucy is saying, just cut the ship loose. When nobody else is going to die for this dream, we've tried everything. And Alex comes up with the idea that, I mean, I was afraid we weren't going to get to see this happen, but he decides, hey, let's um, fire the rail gun, because without the threat, without the reactor to keep us stable, it'll act like a thruster, like a big ass thruster. Which I was just like, yes, we're going to get to see them fire the rail gun. I know, sorry, total guy reaction there. But yeah, so they flip the ship, and that's when they set up to fire the railgun. And it's like I said, it's so realistic that you just can't help but be impressed by by what they're doing here and the way they make it all look so good. Then we cut back down to the planet where we see that Holden and Miller have come into this room where the unexploded bomb is. For lack of a better term, I'm just going to start calling it the field, because that's how Dr. Okoye actually refers to it when she sees it. So I'm just going to refer to it as the field, or the bomb field, so that I don't have to be the bomb, because it doesn't look like a bomb. It's like Holden describes it. Looks like the eye of an angry god. Perfect description for what this thing looks like. Anyway, so we see them find this area that they've been looking for. Now, Miller can't see this thing, so he's relying on Holden to see it. And then here in a second, we actually get the first visual of what this thing is. It's freaking cool. There it is. So yeah, that's just like I said, another amazing visual. Yeah, Deirdre. So they're talking back and forth here, and so they come up with the plan to kill the protomolecule, because anything that touches this field that is connected to the protomolecule kills the protomolecule. So Miller's going to put himself into a physical object and connect everything to him on the planet through the network, and then walk into this thing, hopefully killing everything, freeing the ships, and setting him free. Because there's a lot of dialogue here, and then it's never too dialogue heavy. It's just perfect. It's giving you all the information you need without like bogging the story down while telling you the information you need. They are really good at that. And I've only read Padar. I've only read the first book. I read it last time I was out on a trip, but to Knoxville, and it's different, but it's real similar. So I haven't got that far in the books. I'm really excited to see where this is going to go in the books. But yeah, so I'm behind the 8 ball because I started watching the show first, and then I thought I don't want to read the books or get ahead, because then usually it never matches up your expectations. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh, the books are better. I find myself saying that a lot, and I didn't want to have the show ruined for me. So, but I've heard a lot of people say they're so close to each other that it doesn't really ruin it. They really do follow the story really well. But yeah, so anyway, so we see what's happening here. And so that's their plan to destroy this thing, when we actually see the protomolecule take Miller back over for a second right here. And then I love his reactions. He is so good when they're trying to take him back over, with his reactions like, damn, that hurt. It's just fantastic. Anyway, and he's like, boy, they really don't want me doing this. So anyway, so they start talking, and he's telling him the plan, and there's kind of a sad moment in this scene where we see the two of them talking, and Holden realizes that Miller's here to die. Miller's trying to basically do himself in, and we kind of hear why in the other episodes. Was just he's got 100,000 screaming souls that died on Eros inside of him. So he's having to listen to all that pain and all that suffering. And I mean, who wouldn't want it to end? And he mentions that in this scene where he's just like, well, maybe 100,000 screaming souls finally get some rest. It's just, it's really a cool moment, a real cool character building moment between these two. You just, because Holden and Miller haven't always gotten along. In fact, in the books, it's or at least the first book, it's even more pronounced than it is kind of in the shows. But they have very, very different views on how the world works. Miller's a really kind of a pragmatist and a realist, and Holden's very much an optimist. So you see that conflict between them. But yeah, I agree, Pinar, that the the proto Miller versus Miller thing was really well done in this episode. And he handles it so well, because there's a lot of actors that couldn't. I don't think they could pull that off, to split that personality to make it believable. But Thomas Jane does an excellent job here. So anyway, they talk about this. They're going back and forth, and the last thing he says to him is to tell him about the rain. That rain doesn't taste like anything. It just tastes like nothing. Which is a strange thing, but that's kind of a big deal through this series. That Miller wanted to know what it tasted like, and Holden sitting there realizing he's never going to get to make that wish come true. So it's kind of a cool thing that happens between them right here. Anyway, then we see Okoye and Amos show up through the purple field. And this scene, Way tries to talk him in. Optimism is a luxury for the Innes. yeah, probably. But yeah, it's you see these two talking back and forth. You can see Way's trying to save him, but I really more kind of trying to save her own interests here. She's trying to talk to, she really doesn't get Amos. I mean, though she's been banging him this whole time, she really doesn't get who he is, which I could understand. Amos is a hard one to nail down. It's he is a complicated character. His moral compass seems to fluctuate and stuff like that. So but anyway, so she's trying to talk him into this, saying, hey, just let all these bad choices go and then we can walk away forever. And Amos is just like, is that what he sold you? I don't know. It really is this great thing where you see how loyal to Holden Amos is. And just that despite the fact that he's kind of morally ambiguous at times, he really is loyal to his friends, and his friends mean everything to him. And it's really cool. Cool enough that he shoots Way. So, I mean, she kind of puts him in a choice where it's just like, it's me or it's them. And, and Amos is just like, he doesn't even flinch, just boom. And she's dead. She manages to shoot him. I think right in the hip, from what I could see. That wasn't very clear. And then Murtry fires off a shot, which takes off like 3 fingers on his hand, which looks like it would freaking hurt. Just and his reaction is just so well done. I mean, just extremely believable in this scene. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. She did her best to nail down. But yeah, it's so he ends up killing her to save his captain. I mean, and it's an amazing thing that he's willing to go that far for the loyalty of his friend. That he'll sacrifice somebody that you can tell he obviously cares about this girl, but not enough to betray his captain over it. And that's pretty cool. So yeah, we see him shoot her right here, and he's got that scary eyes, that just almost make you shiver just by having him look at you. And she's like, just misjudges his character. And but yeah, he gets shot, screams at Okoye to run, and he grabs onto her coat and gets blood all over her, which comes kind of back here in just a minute. Yeah, I agree. He wanted a bigger fight during this scene. Yeah, that would have been good. But I mean, I could understand. I mean, if you're going up against Amos, if I was Murtry, yeah, I'd double back and go around two. I don't want to fight an angry man who's just been shot with a and he's got a shotgun and I've got a pistol. I don't think that's going to end well. So, but yeah, it uh it's just this part is fantastic. So Okoye takes off running to go find Holden, which that part kind of got me just a little bit. I'm like, so you're gonna run into these tunnels and hope that you can find Holden, but it's believable because you can see where Holden and Miller went. The floor is lit, and so I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. It's like she's not just running blind through the center of this planet looking. She's actually got kind of some breadcrumbs to follow here. So, pardon me. Anyway, so this we cut back to the Rosinante here, and we see them get into position, and so that they can use the rail gun. And this, like I said, I'm sorry, I got to show everybody this just because I'm a total nerd. And yeah, they fire the rail gun, which gives it a huge kick and hopefully pulls the barb a little bit higher into orbit, which it does work a little bit. And they're going to keep trying to do this while it's buying Naomi time to work on the thrusters, so that she can hopefully get things working the way they need to long enough to keep the barb in orbit. Then we cut back down to Miller and Holden on the planet. We see, like I say, the visuals here just blow me away every time I watch this episode. But yeah, we see Okoye find Holden and tells him that Amos has been shot and that he needs to go find him. And so he leaves Okoye here, tells her don't touch the big glowy thing in the middle of the room, which you got to give it to Okoye that she doesn't do it because she's a scientist, and you know how scientists are; they got to touch everything. So, it's just like going to the doctor. Does this hurt? Ow! Gosh, yeah, it hurts. That's why I'm here. So, anyway, sorry. Just a personal thing. It reminds me of a Bill Cosby comedy that that I heard when I was a kid. But anyway, so in this point, we see Miller show back up. He's like, "Who's that for you, lady?" She's like, "How are you talking? What's She doesn't understand what's going on here. She figures out that it's Miller, and she's just kind of blown away by everything that's happening um, in this particular scene here. And so she's going to try and help guide Miller to the big glowy bomb thing. Um, so that's impressive. And the cool thing about this is when Miller's talking, I don't know if you can see it very well from there, the faceplate is shifting and stuff as he's speaking. Just the attention to detail that went into this is just fantastic. So here we see Holden get back to the big death catwalk in the planet, and he has this exchange between these two. The history and the historical like relevance of what they're talking about is just fantastic. It really is great. Where Murtry's trying to justify what he's doing by saying, hey, civilization doesn't just happen because you want it to. The early pioneers and settlers, thousands had to die for them to build a post office and to build railroads and stuff, trying to justify what he wants to do by using past history, horrific events. And Holden's not believing any of this. He brings up, yeah, there was a guy that tried to justify his genocide by using the past. He's like, yeah, and you weren't swayed. And Holden's like, no, my friend shot him in the face. I know it's not a funny line, but just the way they deliver it. I'm sorry, I have a weird sense of humor. But it's so well done. And the tension between these two, it almost reminds me of two cowboys doing a gun standoff in the middle of town at high noon. It very much has that feel in the middle of a science fiction fantasy world, which is great. done better here than what they're doing in The Mandalorian, where they're actually going for that vibe. Now, don't get me wrong. I think The Mandalorian's pretty good too, but this standoff is better than that, kind of what they're doing there, at least in my opinion. But it is just then they draw down on each other. Holden gets nicked in the neck from what it looks like, or caught in the shoulder, and he shoots Murtry like probably just right above his heart. And Murtry drops his gun, hits the deck, and he walks over, flips him over, and he's like, "Yeah, you don't even have the guts to kill me, do you, boy?" And he's like, "No, because you're gonna spend a long time in a cell. That's what we call civilization." Just like, oh yeah, put some salt in that wound and make it hurt. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, I apologize. I have kind of a weird sense of humor. It's very dark and it gets me in trouble a lot. So so anyway, so we cut back from this scene, but yeah, it was a very westernish kind of feel, and I really liked that aspect of it. Um, so we cut back to here, and we see um, Dr. Koye is trying to help get Miller into position to walk into the glowing orb of death, and and he's just. I have to bring this up. The music for this part of this episode is freaking amazing. It is so well done. The tension that it builds, and because it's a slow build, and it just kind of keeps building on top of itself until the climax of the episode. It is just I'm sorry, I really noticed that. But yeah, it is it is just really really cool. The music adds a huge amount to this episode. Like I said, and this is probably my favorite episode of the season. I mean, they're all great, but this one really kind of did it for me, because there's so much that happens during this episode. So anyway, here's the shootout where Murtry's laying on the ground thinking, how did I just get shot? I don't know. That's just my opinion. And Holden comes up to him and is like, "Yeah, you're finished." So, and then we see Miller in these next scenes where he is waking up the planet. He is turning everything on, which is part of the plan as he walks into this thing. And this particular, like the graphics and the visual effects for this part of this episode are unbelievably cool. I mean, you see the lights coming on like this, like you're seeing here everywhere. You see it happening when the Belters camp, and then you see like the expressions of the Edward Israel crew, Dr. Scaricus. And then you also see the Rosinante, and they're all just watching this planet come to life. And it is just I don't know, sorry, getting tingles talking about it. It's just really, really well done. But yeah, great kamikaze. But yeah, it is just so well done. And you think, oh, it's over. Yeah, this is gonna happen, everything's gonna be cool. And just as you think everything's about to end, waking up the planet has some repercussions that I don't think Miller was expecting. This giant arm comes out of nowhere and slams down on Miller, grabs him, and pulls him up kind of against the wall. And about that time, Okoye looks up into kind of the hole above the ceiling, and the flying Chinese Death Stars come flying down there and try and go into where this orb is, trying to kill her, but she's standing in front of it at the time, and it just wipes them out. As they touch it, they all just fall dead on the ground, which is why they're here. So it's and then we see that after all the little Chinese Death Stars are gone, she runs over to Miller, he's not looking so hot now. That arm really did a number on him, so she's trying to help guide him back over to actually, I wanted to show you some of these visuals here. I'm sure you've already seen this, but you just watch the planet wake up. Everybody's just like, oh, which I understand. That's probably the exact same thing I would be doing. So yeah, you get these huge, these amazing visuals of the planet just lighting up underneath. Kind of what you've been seeing when we've seen Miller talking to the proto molecule, the way the world looks, it's all red and glowing. And so we're getting kind of a different view of that here in this particular scene. Then we cut back to that room with the glowing orb of death, and we see Okoye trying to drag the robot that's got Miller inside of it through it. And as she's trying to drag him over there, Miller runs into the room and she pulls real hard and they both fall through the glowing orb of death. And right here in this moment, that's when that happens. And boom, end of episode. So it's definitely a cliffhanger. But yeah, it's let's see, it's something the show did better than the book, in my opinion. Didn't fully understand why. Yeah, it's like I said, I haven't read the books yet, but it's so well done. And the visuals, like I said, and one of my criticisms with Hollywood and some of the stuff they're doing is that far too often they sacrifice the story for the cool special effects. So you get great special effects at the expense of them crapping out this horrible story. Like, I don't know if any of you are Harry Potter fans. I liked them. Me and my wife read them together. And my kids have really loved them. But the movies bugged me for that very reason. They would spend like 30 seconds or a minute of the film on like pictures of the Whomping Willow doing stupid stuff in the background. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with the story? So, like, get on with it. You just wasted a minute on a tree that nobody cared about. Anyway, so I digress. But I just yelled at my TV when it's yeah, that's when the binge model really does pay off, because you don't have to wait a week where you're just like suspended. Like, what? I have to wait 6 days to find out what just happened. Yeah, it is. That is one good thing. But I mean, it's also the thing about this show that I wish they wouldn't do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love being able to watch everything all at once, but I wish that they would stretch out the episodes over a couple of weeks, or do 2 releases a week for an episode, because it would stretch out that anticipation and keep more word of mouth going. Just because that's the way it works. Because once a show has been all pushed out all at once, you got a couple of weeks where it's the big hot thing, and then it just starts to die. As where with The Mandalorian, I mean, they had almost 2 months of buzz around their TV show. And it's just like The Expanse is too good to be a I don't know how to describe this. Well, it's kind of like that well, like a climax. It happened too quick, and I feel like that's kind of, apologize for the graphic image there that I just put in your head. But I feel kind of like that. I'm just like, nah, wait, it's over already. It's like, that feels premature to me. Just a little premature. I'm sorry. Can we, I got into a huge argument with a binger about how the show, and I get it. I get how everybody, it's a, give it to me all right now. I want it now. Me, mine. But the tension and keeping that going longer is what really builds an audience for a show, because everybody's talking about it at work the next day, and then the people are like, well, what was that all about? Yeah, bottle rocket versus diesel engine. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Jeff Foxworthy. But yeah, it's I don't know. I cannot tell you how much I love this show. So I don't know if I showed this on my last video, but I mean, I'm even doing stuff like buying stuff like this. So I went and bought a small model. This is the only one I could find right now. It's just a small model of the Rosinante. And it's not an expensive item or whatever. Not to mention, let me show you this here. So never mind the fat belly of a 45-year-old guy. But yeah, I mean, I went and bought t-shirts and stuff of this because I love it. It's a fantastic show, and I really do owe this to Xenocide, who's in the chat here. He was the one that got me into this show. I think it was into its second season when he told me about this, and I was at his house one day, and he was watching it, and I'm just like, what is this? And I started watching it. By the end of one episode, in the middle of the second season, I was hooked. I was hooked. I mean, it was just like, well, great. Now I got to go home and watch the whole freaking thing. so, so I really do owe it to Xenocide for getting me into this because yeah, that's the reason why I love this the way I do. But I mean, I just wish we could get more people into it. I mean, it is very different because it's kind of more of a dystopian type of future, but not really. Not really. It's not that bad. You know, it's not Star Trek, but it's not War of the Worlds either. It's kind of a great mix of both, and it makes it great. And the actors that they've got for this show, I don't know if they could have found a better cast. And the thing is, like, you watch the panels with these guys at Comic Cons and stuff like that, you can tell they love each other. They love working together. They have so much fun, and it comes out. And I mean, this like the original cast for Star Wars. Star Wars is really great. The original, the OT, you know, the original trilogy, because the actors enjoyed themselves. They were a great cast together. So um yeah, so just keep pushing this show out there, because the more people we get into this show, the longer it'll go, because I want to see them do all the books, um because they do such a good job of going from books to TV show, which is a very rare thing. Most of the time, Hollywood goes, "We're smarter than the people that wrote the books. We're going to change this and change this." And these guys aren't doing that. They're following the books. I mean, they're a little different, but they're following the books. So, great future. Yeah, yeah, it's very real. It is taking what the world is like right now and saying this is where we'd be in 300 years, and it is just, I don't know. It keeps you drawn into it because of the realness. But yeah, not everyone listens to classical jazz. Yeah, myself, I can take or leave jazz. Jazz is, but when you get good jazz, oh, you've got some good jazz. So, but yeah, everybody's telling me season 5 or book 5 is the best book out of all of them. So I know there's a lot of anticipation for that, and it sucks that we have to wait a year. I think it's next year, next December ish, when they're planning on releasing season 5, and hopefully we get announcements for season 6 and season 7 and season 8. During that time. So I mean, because they announced season 5 before 4 had even come out. So I mean, hopefully we get more of that. But I think it depends on a lot of us getting the word out there and pushing this, which is the reason I'm doing this whole show, and the reason I'm going episode by episode on a binge show, which hasn't been. I mean, my first episode doing this was pretty popular, and then it has fallen off progressively as I've gone on, and it's because of the binge model. It's lost interest. People have watched it 4 or 5 times by now, but I never get tired of watching it. So I watch it all the time, and that's how I know it's good, because I just don't get tired of it. So jazz is grand, but Wesley Crusher never hit the night. Fedor, you've got some good chat in you. That's funny. But yeah, I mean, and I don't know if you guys saw this on one of my other videos, but there was one part where what's her name? Lucia's daughter. No, I just lost her name. The little know-it-all chick. Anyway, that really bothered me in one of the episodes, because all of a sudden she goes from like kind of a nothing character, this irritated teenager who wants, to go to college and stuff, and all of a sudden she's an expert in thermodynamics, engineering, and everything. I'm just like, what just happened to that kid? And that was probably for me the first thing that the TV shows did that was unbelievable. because I'm thinking Wesley Crusher was that kind of a character, but they built him up over several seasons to make him into that character. They didn't just take him from being this snot-nosed kid to genius overnight. So anyway, but yeah, this book is yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read the books yet, but that's what I've heard. Like 4 is not um the best of the books and stuff, or I don't know, but the season of the television show has been just just awesome. Just awesome. I have enjoyed every minute of this. Um and it looks like you guys don't forget the time. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. I mean, I like it all. I Star Wars, Star Trek, Expanse. I mean, any other show out there. But I love it all. I love the fantasy. You guys can go and watch my review of The Witcher, which is a great series, by the way. It just there's a lot of nudity in it and a lot of F words, which is weird in a medieval show. I'm like, I don't really think they really use that word a lot in the medieval times, but okay. But yeah, so I mean, half the time I was watching a show like this, but and I don't know if you guys have noticed the uptick in swearing this episode or in this season, but you know what's funny? In the book, the first book and the first season, Amos swears a lot in the book. I mean, almost every time he starts talking, he starts saying the F word. And in the series, like he didn't do that at all. But with Amazon now, you've seen a definite uptick in it. So I have to kind of be careful where I'm watching it because I don't want to have my wife or children go, Dad, what are you watching? Or have my wife go, Brian, that sounds terrible. Why are you watching? So it's a guilty pleasure. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, I can't. I want to talk about the 9th episode, and you know what? I think I may do another live stream, or not the 9th, pardon me, but to talk about the 10th episode because I really love this, and I love you guys' interaction. This is so much fun to talk about the Expanse. I wish there was a way we could, just sit there and just talk back and forth. The chat is great though, and I really appreciate you guys being here tonight. This is a great show. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the excitement building and talk about it every chance we get and try and get as many people as we can into this show because it really is great. Like I said, took one episode in the middle of a season that I hadn't seen anything on to pull me in and get me and to create an instant fan for me, or out of me. So, I mean, all it takes is, I mean, sometimes people are like, oh, it's too stupid. It's just like, you just got to get them to watch an episode. It's like that first hit of cocaine. I've never done cocaine, but that's what I've heard. So, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a little prudish, with language and stuff like that. I kind of am, but I don't mind it either. But yeah, I have small children, so that makes it more difficult because then I have to explain it. So, but yeah, yeah, Avasarala, she swore a lot, and it didn't really fit her character. So I'm thinking probably if I do a live stream for episode 10, it's definitely going to probably kind of sort of, I'm really good about stuff like that. It will probably be next Saturday. I will be on the road this next week, but I should get home Saturday, barring any bad weather. But I will try to make that happen, and it'll be the same time, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you're in a different time zone, it's just you have to kind of calculate accordingly. But yeah, thanks for being here, you guys, and gals. If there was any gals in here tonight, I appreciate your interaction and stuff. Like I said, this is so great. I have so much fun talking about the Expanse. And if any of you guys would like to come on to the live stream and talk with me as we're going through episode 10, I think you should be able to find my email is let's see, make sure I'm giving you the right one, tritonbp1@gmail.com. And you can catch me on Twitter at Brian the Speaker. feel free to get on there and do that. And then if you have anything access to live or to StreamYard, you set up account, and then I can send a thing where you guys can jump in and actually be part of the discussion live. So anyway, but yeah, thanks. And I hope you guys had a great time. Make sure you're sharing this with your friends and stuff if you enjoyed the discussion. And we will talk to you next time. Next Saturday, pencil it in. And if something changes, I will let you know by updating, doing a quick update video on my YouTube channel. So thanks, and we will talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.